this queen, Tiamat. Okay, it gets really complicated when you read about this myth. It's kind of crazy because there's gods killing gods and different generations of gods and everything like that. But the main idea at the beginning is that you have a male and a female. Right? The female kills the male, and then like a few generations down, there's this god called Marduk who shows up, and he comes back and kills the queen, the first one. Okay, and he kills her and then uses her blood to create the world. Okay, it's really just a bloody mess. Okay, this is the myth of in the Middle East, the creation of the world. Right. So Marduk, he's actually like the god of light. He has like eyes all around his head. He can see everything. So he has vision. And Tiamat is just, as I mentioned, she's like the first queen. She's kind of going crazy. And everyone's like, Marduk, you need to kill Tiamat. You gotta go kill her. And he says, sure, I'll do it. But if I win, then I'm the top god. Okay, then he gets first place. So as I mentioned, he kills her, chops her up, and he creates with her. And he uses her blood to create the humans, the human person, to be slaves of the gods. Okay, pretty crazy. But this is really it was the main myth of creation for the Mesopotamians, which is a very powerful ancient culture. And the leader of that culture, the ruler, was meant to be sort of Marduk in persona, Marduk in flesh. So Genesis is composed, as I mentioned, as an anti-myth in opposition to this view of creation. Right? Genesis is creation not through violence, but through what? Through speech. Then God said, let there be light. That's it. Right? That's it. God just said, let there be light. And there was light. That's a peaceful movement. It's a peaceful creation. Okay? Also, the creation of Genesis is from nothing. From nothing. There's no previous blood of the gods that was used to create. There's no prime matter that God molded. And God just spoke and created from nothing. He spoke into being, existence. And in Genesis, there's not many gods. There's the one God. Right? There's a distinction between God and creation. Everything else is below the one God. Right? Very interesting. In Genesis, right, the sun and the moon, does anyone know what function they have? They even have this function today, a little bit. But what does it say about the sun and the moon in what we read? Yeah, put it up on the slide. Right, determine season. Yeah, exactly. The government of the day and the night. Right? God said, let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons. And this was a big diss to the sun and the moon. Because everyone else, many other cultures thought they were gods. Right? Gods who should rule, gods who should have power. Right? And Genesis is saying, no, actually, you're supposed to determine the seasons now. Like, that's it. Right? Sun and moon have been demoted a lot. Okay? They've been demoted. They're there to determine the signs and the seasons. Right? So the mythical view of sun and moon is gone. All right, and yet this other thing, right? The creation of man. What does God say to man? It's the first thing he says. First message from God to man. Be fruitful and multiply. That's the first message. Not be my slave, do what I tell you, right? Which is what the other myths were saying. Be fruitful, multiply, and guess what? Have dominion. You can have dominion. It's like God's just like turning over His power to us. To us. Have dominion. And then at the end of the sixth day, God says, look, God saw all that He had made, and behold, it was very good. The goodness of creation is not given in most other creation stories, especially in one that we would talk about. Creation's not good. Creation is chaos. Creation is what happens when the gods start killing each other and need some slaves. That's the view of creation outside of Genesis. Right? So this is an anti-myth, right? It's trying to correct all of the mistaken views of creation, which still exist. Right? They're still out there. Any questions? You guys see the picture? Sort of get the picture a little bit. So like sun, moon. You can probably really study it and get really good at it. I see it closely. You pretty much match up Genesis with some of the images. Okay. All right. So why did God create Adam? All this creation brings us back to asking why, right? The meaning of creation. Right? St. Bonaventure said that the world was created for the glory of God. St. Irenaeus said the glory of God is the homo vivens. And the glory of God is man fully alive. And the understanding of creation is that it's free. God just spoke creation. He didn't have to create. It didn't make him any better. He wanted to manifest His glory. He wanted to make it known. And so He created you to have someone upon which to place His blessing. Wow, that's pretty good. That's not bad, right? God created freely for love, for glory. The world was created for the glory of God. Right? He didn't need slaves. He didn't need to master anything. He wasn't in need of anything. Freely created. Okay, and creation is good. Right? It's very good. I remember once being on a ski lift in Italy, because I lived there for 4 years and I wasn't just there to ski, but every once in a while. Actually, Father Showers was along for this. He can chime in. But I got separated from the group. I was a little slower of a skier. But I couldn't quite keep up. I don't know, maybe I was just doing my own thing. But anyways, I was by myself. And I was on the ski lift. You know, just going on the ski lift, and it was a big mountain. And there was just no trees, and it was snowing. And I looked up, and everything was white. Like, everything in my vision was white. Like from here to there to there. It was like I was like going into the clouds. And it was the most profound experience of creation that I've had. They're like, there's like in the top 3, there's a couple others that get close. And I hope you've had this experience before in creation. And immediately my mind just popped. And God saw that it was good. Like that's just, I was like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It was just pure white. It was just snow falling, like it was the mountains, you know. And it was just an overwhelming experience of God's goodness. It was creation. And we need to have experiences like that because it's not always easy to hold on to this belief that creation is good. Right? Here in the Catechism, this is a worthy paragraph to read. It says, many times the church has defended this, that matter is good, that physical creation is good. Because we know that things can happen, right? There can be experiences of creation, of its fallenness that would suggest otherwise. Right? Shoot, the ski lift breaks and I just fall off. You know what? It could happen, right? But it did. Many times the church has defended this as good, right? Against various philosophies and ideas. A couple of them I can point out here. Dualism, right? That spiritual things are good, that matter is bad. Right? Plato sort of had that idea, right? That we're in the realm of the shadows. Right? The forms are truly what is good. Matter is something below transcendence. Now, on the flip side, this doesn't mean we're materialists, right? Materialism says that there's nothing transcendent, right? That all we have is what we sense, right? Just a strict materialism, right? Or a pantheism, right? That creation is God. But we hold that distinction between God and creation. We've been through that a few times. And I put a quote in here that I always think of on this topic from St. Josemaria. He says, I often materialize even the most spiritual things. It is a method that our Lord used. He liked to teach through parables using images from life around him. A shepherd and his flock, the vine and its branches, boats and nets, seeds scattered by his soul. In a particular way, St. Josemaria, who was a priest, a saint, he taught a lot about Genesis. And he would say this here, that we must learn to materialize our spiritual life. That matter is good, it can be redeemed. It is redeemed. Even our work, even our study, even our walk home, or our whatever, right? That all creation is good. We must hold on to that. Right? And Jesus himself teaches about creation, right? Especially when he's talking about marriage. Jesus refers to the beginning. He says, in the beginning it was not so. And God made them male and female. Right? And Jesus sort of puts an end to divorce. Jesus also says to consider the lilies of the field. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, how they spin. Right? Consider the birds of the air. So Jesus himself is very much in contact with creation. He speaks about it. So creation is good. That's why we have ice cream. Yeah, it's probably getting really melted right now too, but we're not tossing out crazy. Thanks. Okay? Wow, we are totally not going to get through the most one we get through. It's okay. We're gonna keep marching on here. It's like 8:07. We'll probably go to like 8:15 a little more. Okay? We'll see how much we get through. Okay, but as I mentioned before, tonight's topic was creation, man, and original sin. All right, so we did a little bit on creation. Now we're going to move to man. Okay, sound good? Now, the human person, imago Dei, right? The image of God, right? In that first chapter, we saw this phrase: man is made in the image and the likeness of God. Right? There's been lots of thinking about that. What the heck does that mean? What does it actually mean that we are the image and the likeness of God? Right? Well, this phrase was not only used in the Bible, it was used in other places. Right? So the Egyptian kings, right, they were thought to be the image of God. Right? They said man is the image of God. Right? Pharaoh is the image of God. Right? A slight distinction that Genesis makes, again, it makes this for a reason. Right? Man is made in the image of God. Right? Not that man is the image of God, but he's made in the image of God. Right? And reflecting on these two words, there's come a consensus by Christian writers, right? That the image refers to our dignity, right? Which can never be taken away from us. Right? That's the image part. Right? The likeness to God is our openness to growth and to change. It's a man in the image and the likeness of God. Now, what actually makes us in the image and likeness of God? What traits can you say, yeah, this is what makes me in the image of God. This is what makes me in the likeness of God. I have blue eyes. I'm in the image of God. Well, that'd be a problem for those folks with brown eyes, right? So it can't be that. Right? Could it be that we are male and female? Could that be what makes us in the image of God? Well, no. Right? Because all the animals have that, right? Biological sex, right? Male and female. Right? And I know you love your cat. Right? But the cat is not the image like of God. Right? So, what about our spiritual component? Could it be that? Could it be that we have a soul? We have a spiritual element? Is that what makes us in the image of God? Well, even angels have that. What about our unity of spirit and body, soul and body? Right? Is that what makes us in the image of God? Well, that would be also hard to reach because our body is not, even though matter is good, creation is good, God is not bodily himself. And so that element of us couldn't really make us in the image of God. All right, so finally maybe we just give up. Right? Enough of this. Right? You can't define it. How do you define the image of God? Intelligence? Yeah. But angels have intelligence. Right? They're not the image of God. So maybe we just say, let's just throw it out. Let's just get rid of it. Right? Because if we're true, right, we have to say, well, God, you can't define God. Right? God, you can only say what he's not. And so we can't define the image of God. That was, some authors have proposed that. But there's more to say. There's more to think about here. What makes us in the image of God? All right? The image of God, one way to think about it is in those words from God to us, in which he says, have dominion. Rule over creation as I rule over creation. God extends his rule to us. We're supposed to be his representatives. Right? We are here to rule over creation, right? To have dominion. Right? So the image of God, one way to think about it is not so much in our essence or our being, but in our action. Right? In what we have been commanded to do by God, to have dominion over creation. Right? To till and to keep the soil. Right? And that's what we're called to do. We're called to extend God's rule over creation. One of my professors said that the way he best saw this, and Father Andrew might remember this, was in a horse trainer. In a horse trainer. He said that was one of the most beautiful jobs or tasks of the human person, where I started having dominion over creation, like taking an animal, like sort of like training it, like getting it to act in a certain way, or do I don't train horses, like, but it's pretty neat task to think about, like having dominion over creation. Right? Now it doesn't mean to dominate creation, right? To suppress it, but to control or to order or to be a good steward of creation. Does that make sense? The distinction? Because there's been some ideas that, hey, you Christians are like, you're the ones causing pollution because this whole dominion over creation thing, right? Because you just squash creation, cut down the rainforest, whatever, just do what it takes, right? But that's not the meaning of having dominion, but rather it's more like being a good steward, right? Ordering it towards God's glory. That's probably the best one. Ordering it towards God's glory. That's probably, I would say that's how we should think about having dominion. So how do you do that? Does anyone feel like they do that in their life? Like ordering God's creation back to Him. I mean, you cut the grass, mow the grass, make it look nice. You hunt? I love to hunt too. Right? What's the highest activity of a deer? What's the highest activity of a deer?
Eating grass.
Eating grass? How about being eaten by me? Being eaten by me. Some would argue that. I would argue that. Sure, hunting, sure, no, it's great. If you're just hunting for sport, maybe it might be a problem. Maybe that's more dominating than ordering towards God's glory. How about just taking care of people? Being a nurse, being a doctor, right? Caring for people. Yeah.
That's like putting people over things. Like prioritizing people over things.
Yeah. Conversation. Just ordering creation towards God's glory, right? How's it going? Simple things. And playing in a band, right? You got this metal tube around your, right? You're blowing air through it. Beautiful noise comes out, right? And it's ordering creation. What's that? Family. Sure. Yeah. Having offspring, that's pretty amazing. Okay, now, there's a problem, and we've already touched on it a little bit, and that is sin. Sin. All right? And what is sin? Well, I may save this for next time. Alright. We're gonna finish here. Just with a little teaser on what's in it. Which is but we understand sin only from our relationship to God. So sin is not a mistake or an error, but it's the breaking of a relationship. It's a breaking of a relationship. And the reason that sin must be brought up now is because all this talk about how creation is good, about how we're called by God to order creation back to Him, we know that it's not easy because we do prioritize things that we do. But we do maybe just kill animals for no other reason than we enjoy it. farmer in my hometown who said that mink got into his chickens, and they actually just murdered the chickens. Like, they didn't even eat the chickens. They just go up and like bite the necks of the chickens and let them die. I'm like creation's messed up, right? That is messed up. Okay, so I don't know if you have chicken or mink. I don't know anything. But that's messed up, right? Now, that's not sin. That's not sin, because sin is a reality of a human person. But as evil and chaos has come into the world through man's sin. I can just imagine me like absolving me right now, saying, "I'm forgiving you for that." But we understand sin in our relationship to God, right? There wouldn't be sin. There wouldn't be sin if God hadn't moved close to us, if He hadn't decided to be in a relationship with us. Okay, and that's why there becomes the possibility of rejecting, of turning against God. And that takes place in Genesis, a little later on in Genesis. So that's it for tonight. Any lingering questions? Okay, let's stand and prepare to do our Father. In the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. In the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, guys. See you next week. Try to bring a Bible and a catechism. Okay?